Coach, hey, thanks for joining me today on this Simple Coach to Coach interview. Appreciate you taking the time. You have long been on my radar, whether you realize it or not. My brother just so happens to be a Hall of Famer at Penn State Behrend for the, individually, but also for the 1978 team, I think is what he was on. So you've always been there, and I've always said I definitely got to reach out, and so I'm glad we're able to connect. Coach, hey, all right, so I think I got this right. I mean, you've been there for a while, 30 years, 29 years?
30 years, going into
30
34.
years, wow, who's counting, right? Maybe you could just talk about your soccer experience and how you ended up at Behrend in Erie, PA.
I moved here in '93 from a junior college up in Rochester, Monroe Community College. Loved it at Monroe Community College. I just wanted to be at a four-year school. I started this whole thing in '87 as a graduate assistant for a gentleman that really sparked my interest and paved the way. Peter Haley at Springfield College. So I was very fortunate, '87 to '89, to have that experience, and then just moved on from there. Spent a year at Redlands in California, 3 at Monroe Community College, and came down here in '93, and it's just been a great experience for our family, and my wife works here as well, so it's a wonderful place to work. It is.
Yeah. I got to ask, Monroe Community College, I don't know if it was the late 80s, early 90s, like an outstanding, they were usually ranked nationally in junior college. So I only know that because I used to live right next to Mercer County College that I remember was very, very good. So I have these odd names, Monroe, Herkimer, Yavapai, all
Arizona.
great program. Yeah.
So yeah, we played at Mercer in the national tournament a number of years. I was at MCC.
Oh, okay. All right, so I got to ask you a really important question. This is probably the most important question that you'll be asked today from me, and I'm hoping it's okay. But maybe could you just tell me a little bit about this Emma and Dan's annual journey and the Voice for Independence?
I love talking about our journey.
All I'm gonna say is it sounds awesome. So I'm like, hey, I got to ask this. So
it's very special. Emma's a 24-year-old. She's our daughter with special needs. We're very fortunate. We have a Hoyt runner, which, if you know the Hoyts from ESPN and from triathlon and marathon fame, we've had a Hoyt buggy since 2015. We do a long walk each summer, and we're very random and about where we walk. This summer we walked from the border of Massachusetts through Vermont and finished in Canada. So we do that every summer. We pick a different organization here that is close to Emma. This summer it was Voices for Independence, and we'll continue to do it. We have a great time. It's 2 weeks out of our June calendar, and it's very special to both of us and our entire family.
Mm-hmm. So the Hoyt chair, whatever it's called, is that the same as the gentleman with his son or daughter?
It is.
Doing like marathon, like crazy races. We're not talking like 2Ks. He's like doing real deal marathons and all that. Is that the same?
It is.
Yeah.
It's the same organization. The name is attached to the buggy, and the Hoyts had a lot of influence with the designer, as design people with the manufacturer of Hoyt buggy. It's evolved into this device now. We do races. We mostly do long distance walks. We do 1 or 2 each summer. We do a big one, like I mentioned, in June.
Yeah.
But it is the same family, Rick and Dick Hoyt.
Yeah.
Rick just passed away recently, sadly.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know. I didn't see. I had seen before, because it was pretty astounding. I think, I don't want to say he was the first, but at least the first one that I know to gain notoriety for what he was doing. And
they had a great bond, and very inspirational.
Yeah.
We share what we do, Emma and I, with our team, and they walk with us occasionally. And it's a great experience for Emma and I, and for our family,
Yeah.
like I mentioned. But
Yeah.
it's also Emma's a pretty visible part of the Behrend community here. People know
Uh-huh.
our players know Emma,
Uh-huh.
and we're fortunate to have that buggy to
Yeah.
walk in.
I mean, and not to mention, right? It just must be fantastic doing something with your daughter, right?
Uh,
Like something as deep and as meaningful as that, right?
there's 2 weeks in the summer where our attention is devoted to each other, to our
Mm-hmm.
family. There's no recruiting, there's no scheduling, there's no practices to run.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks that we look forward to every year, and maybe an eye on bigger things as we move into a different part of our lives here, both of
Yeah.
us, for Emma and for myself as well.
So I'll put a link down in the description because it is awesome. Like, forget the soccer and all that stuff that we'll talk about now, but just what you do. Immediately I was just kind of like, holy mackerel, because it's not. It's a big deal, right? Like it's the stuff that matters is what that is, right? As far as I'm concerned, but
And we're fortunate to be able to do it. We really are. We
hmm
have good resources and good support here with family and friends, and even the soccer community here rallies behind Emma. And
hmm
we go to Colorado. There's soccer people that help us. We had alums out there in Vermont. Same thing. So
hmm
we're able to connect some dots, but the focus of what we do is because we is the walking. We really
yeah.
enjoy that, being with each other, and we rock out. We have a great time.
All right. Um, all right, so let's jump into the other stuff. Hey, I've been meaning to ask you because I asked this. This is like almost a two-part question because of where you're located. So first of all, let me ask: since you've been doing your job for as long as you have you noticed if players are getting better?
I think the recruiting pool is very large now.
Mm-hmm.
There's and I'll compare. I'll answer the question comparing my experiences in the '90s recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there weren't enough good players to go around. Now there is. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to figure out what your footprint is, and figure out what attracts people to your particular university. Here at Penn State Behrend, it's engineering. It's our School
Mm-hmm.
of Business. That's our footprint. We can recruit nationally with our School of Engineering, but predominantly we recruit within the state of Pennsylvania. But there are enough players now. That's one of the differences. To answer your
Mm-hmm.
question,
Mm-hmm.
Paul, is there enough outstanding players uh,
Yeah.
to build a roster with?
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you that even though you did say you sort of recruit mostly PA, do you notice like regional differences between players? It's my latest thing. Like there should be differences between a player, let's say from New Jersey, and then a player from Ohio versus Iowa versus California. Does that make
I
sense?
don't. I don't know that I can say that there is with a surety.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can find all different types of players in each geographical region of our country.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, you can. What's the right word I'm looking for? You can stereotype players from California,
Mm-hmm.
stereotype players from the New York metropolitan area.
Yeah.
But within those areas, you can find all different types of players. It just depends on how you play, and our players are fit for your team and for your university.
Mm-hmm. Um, okay, so that leads me to the next thing. Do you have are there particular challenges that you face, or I don't want or opportunities that you face that recruiting? I mean, Penn State Behrend is a public school versus you're like in a hotbed of just private schools galore. I mean, do, are there any advantages or disadvantages? Granted, I would just say the name itself. I'm assuming you graduate from Penn State if you graduate from Behrend, like other schools. But is there anything like that?
I think there's. I think the privates will say the publics have a big advantage, and the publics will say the privates have a big advantage.
Yeah, of course.
I think one of the disadvantages for us here, and there's not many to be
Mm-hmm.
clear, is the borders. So when you come across from Ohio or New York, there's a tuition bump.
Yeah,
We do have some grants now. It's called the Penn State Discover Grant.
yeah.
But when you come across from Ohio and New York, there are some challenges when you get into March with financial aid. We're upfront about it. Certainly, the advantages are tuition is lower. We're in a great area geographically with Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. We do have players from all three of those areas on our roster. So that's a huge advantage. But the disadvantage for us somewhat is the tuition bump when you come across the borders.
But I would think conversely, right? Just being Penn State, that's got to be a grab, I would think.
Nationally, at
Yeah.
times it is, and
Yeah.
we feel we're part of Penn State. That's an important part of our draw here. But Behrend is very unique within the Penn State system,
Yeah.
with the number of students, with the infrastructure we have here on campus, and with the faculty. It's a bit different, I think, than some of the other Penn State schools who are quality schools as well.
Yeah.
I think we've been here 75 years, so we're a bit more established with majors, with accreditation, and with infrastructure on campus.
Yeah. All right, so let me ask you, how big of a deal is team culture for you at Behrend?
I'm not a big sayings guy when it comes to team culture. Certainly, we value that. I don't know if I refer to it as team culture. I think it's the camaraderie and the day-to-day and how you interact with your players. And I think a big part of our culture is I use the word compete a lot. I love soccer. I love competing more. So we use that word a lot. I think we have about 2/3 of our team are engineers. So I think in terms of the cultural part of things, there's a lot of things that are baked in or already here because of that. We have a lot of guys from Western PA, and I think that helps. One with the competitive level, and two with players getting along with each other. And a lot of our players will know each other before they arrive on campus, which seems to be the trend now with social media anyway. But
Yeah. I think guys, much more so than when I was going through. Like, I think guys follow each other, go together to certain places if they can get recruited.
and I certainly miss the days when you walked in to your first team meeting and there was that tension and that anxiety. I like that. I like that as a coach, and I don't know if I like it as a player, but I enjoyed it as a coach. And I think that's fallen away a little bit with social media and players on having more interaction with themselves with each other before they.
Yeah. I will say too, like you can research the players you're going, even if you don't know them, you could spend hours researching them because most everybody has. They're pretty open about their soccer, and so you can find videos and game highlights and all that kind of stuff, which, does take that edge off because
It
before
does.
then you were like an unknown. Everything was an unknown quantity from the freshman perspective, to the upperclassmen looking at the freshman. Like you never knew who was who or what was what. Like,
And we tend to remember, in my opinion, Paul, we tend to remember moments when we're really happy and moments when we're very anxious and nervous. And I
yeah,
remember my freshman year
yeah,
and the anxiety and
yeah,
not knowing anybody. And now
yeah,
that's sort of changed a
yeah.
little bit. And
You-
you turn that into a positive, and it
oh,
does
sure.
create the culture that helps create the culture that you want because there's familiarity, again, already in place.
Yeah, that's that is true. You do. I mean, you basically adapt to whatever the situation is. But yeah, I do. I do remember the anxiety. That was always that first meeting because it was always the team meeting. That was super uncomfortable. Just like I don't. And as a freshman, like I have no idea about anything, like nothing. I'm just walking in, like I don't even know what building I'm in. Like so. Um, um, could you talk just a little bit about the Allegheny Mountain Collegiate Conference? Just
Yeah,
the
so
teams you play.
we've been around. We started in '97. We've had a lot of teams in and out of the league. Um, our league is we're not a two-bid league. We are a one-bid league. So we have to do well in those 2 or 3 games we get at the end of the year. Those are critical to get in the NCAA tournament. Geographically, we're right in the middle of the league, and it's right now it's a 10-team league, and it's improving. Our league is is making steps every year to improve. But right now we're a one bid league. Geographically, we're in Pennsylvania, in New York.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that becomes that would lead me to like your schedule. It's like knowing that you're one bid, how intentional are you with the schedule that you create?
Uh,
Just to see if you can get the second bid or an at-large
so
bid.
there's two different ways I can answer that question. I think even if I'm not sure we can get a strong enough schedule,
Mm-hmm.
non-conference with 9 games or 10 games that we're allowed to schedule outside the league, Paul,
Mm-hmm.
to get us even in the conversation for a second bid. Now that, of course, that could change. So we try to play as good of a schedule as we can regionally.
Mm-hmm.
John Carroll. We've played Carnegie Mellon before. We've played Messiah. We try to play teams within a 4 hour
Mm-hmm.
radius that can help us. But I think that the scheduling is not necessarily for a second bid. It's for seeding if you do get in. That's how we look at it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
That's a good point.
we've gone from playing monsters in the first round, and that's typically what we're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Kenyon, Ohio Wesleyan, Messiah. And some years we don't. Some years we don't get an absolute. They're all great teams that get in the national tournament, but
Mm-hmm.
the scheduling part of it helps if you do get in my opinion. It's
Yeah,
not. I don't think our league's in position right now to get a second bid.
yeah. How who did was it Mount Aloysius?
Mount Aloysius won our league last year. They beat us
Yeah.
in penalty kicks, and they took Ohio Northern to penalty kicks in the NCAA tournament
Yeah,
first
yeah,
round. They had a
yeah,
really good first round matchup, and
yeah.
they did well with it. They played well. They're a good
And
team.
Ohio Northern was just spectacular last year. I mean, they're one tough team. Um, all right, so let me ask you just um, what, without prompting, what's your assessment of this past season? How do you think you did? How do you? Um, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Uh, we didn't win our league, so it's always a disappointment when we don't win our league. That's our goal from day one, and it will be as long as I coach. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's a disappointment to lose in the conference final. We hosted. We won 2 games in the ECAC tournament. We lost to a very good Rutgers Newark team in the final. Overall, good year, but again, it does come down. Unfortunately, kind of assess based on 2 games or 3 games at the end of the year. And then you get away from it a little bit in January and February, and you kind of think back. And we didn't concede. We were tough to beat. Um, and then you look forward, Paul. We have everybody back.
Oh
We
wow.
graduate 2. So expectations are very high this year as well. So.
I'm just looking at your schedule. So this just an observation, which may again not having watched the games. It looked like September you had a hard time sort of getting into a rhythm. You go tie, win, loss, win, loss. And then all of a sudden in October you just sort of ran the table, right? Like I mean is that accurate? Do you think that's a normal scenario just because of again you step out of your league, you're playing the non-conference and so that competitive level may or may not be higher? Is that
I think our non-conference schedule is better than our league
uh-huh.
schedule.
Yeah.
Parts of it at least.
Mhm.
And again, I want to. Our league is good at the top. Our league is
Yeah,
good
yeah.
and improving. Um, but yeah, our non-conference schedule. Everybody's going to say their non-conference schedule sets them up uh, for what matters the most, and that's the
Mhm.
league.
Yeah. I mean, you took John Carroll. You only lost to him 1-0, which is a huge. They're
And
another
we've sort of
great
had their
team.
number the last couple of years. They've outplayed us, and
Uh huh.
we got lucky in the NCAA tournament. Not lucky. We beat them in the NCAA tournament. They outplayed us.
Hmm.
That same season we played them in the NCAA tournament. We played them in the regular season here, and we beat them 1-0 as well. So We got great goalkeeping in the NCAA tournament game, and when we beat them here. So, um, but yeah,
Hey,
we'll compete well. We
yeah,
try to set ourselves up with how we play to compete against teams that are better than us in the NCAA
yeah,
tournament.
yeah,
So we try to we try to train to counterattack and to give a third of the field, and
hmm,
because that's how we're going to most likely be successful in the NCAA tournament.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, you got to fight. You got to find and work your advantages wherever you think you can get them. Right? Like, I mean, I think that's the reality, and especially once you get into the NCAA's, everything, all bets are off, and it just becomes a, you know, how do you survive to fight the next day? Right? Like, I think
It
that's
is. It 100% is that.
Can I ask you, sort of what if you were to describe how you like to play without divulging secrets to your competitors? Like how do you like to have Baron play?
If teams, anybody who's played us knows we are we're changing as well. We have a very an outstanding assistant coach who's always prompting me to change things. We have set ourselves up to be a counterattacking team. We're not a possession-based team, but we're not a direct team.
Mm-hmm.
We try to just give our players enough information to play what's on. We're very difficult to score against. I
Mm-hmm.
think teams recognize that. We're very compact. And we have outstanding goalkeeping, and we'll be very defensive, defensively very difficult to break down and score against.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a secret. I mean, if you play Barron, you're gonna get the lacrosse line, and you're gonna be able to play, and you're gonna have more of the ball than we are.
Uh-huh.
Most games, most
And
opponents.
you're okay with that?
100% because we do well with it. Now our assistant, who's right across the hall over there, Chris, is he's moving us into the 2000s,
Oh,
into
nice.
this into this century in terms of how we play, and
Uh-huh.
prompting me and moving us in that direction, and pressing a little bit more, and playing through the thirds a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, modernizing.
Yep, I'm an old guy, Paul. I'm an
Hey,
old guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It is true. I just noticed you said you're difficult to score on. I mean, even through, I mean, you had one, two, three, four, five, seven, 8 goals against, 9 goals against, something like that. I mean, that's low. Wow. Yeah, I
We
just
we,
realized that.
we try not to concede, and I
Uh-huh.
think we were ranked first in the NCAA in goals allowed
Goals allowed.
in the
Yeah,
regular
yeah,
season. Yeah.
You know what? You're right because I thought I saw that on the website at year end. Again, it's just a yeah. I don't know why I'm surprised because there's got to be a team there. But yeah, that's and it's true, right? Like, hey, I always say this is a game of goals, right? And goals go both ways. And if you could figure out a way to lock your opponent, you stand a better chance of getting a result than your opponent who might be accustomed to scoring and who just can't find the back of the net, right? Like I just think
And
that's.
we have had teams like that can light it up, and
Hmm.
we have changed here and there to
Hmm.
accommodate to account for a very good attacking team.
Hmm.
But we know that typically, Paul, when we get in the NCAA tournament, we're going to play an outstanding team,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's a top Hobart in 11. Um,
Hmm.
we because of how we played, I think we did well in that game, and
Yeah.
significantly better team
Yeah.
than we were,
Yeah.
but not on the day, not
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah. Yeah. You can. Yeah, I mean, that's how you neutralize those teams. Like I said, hey, if you're going to be that good against me, be that good. But you're gonna have to work to get the goals that you're going to need, right? Like I think
Hmm.
that's the reality of it. Um, Tell me, so you lost. Tell me about that game against um, Mount Aloysius in the final of the AMCC, where you tied. You went into OT, which that leads me into the another question. But and then you lost in PKs. What was that game like for you? Aside
Back
from heart rendering, soul crushing.
I suppose I could put it out there. We have lost 3 or 4 conference finals in penalty kicks, so it is disappointing to get to that point. We had numerous chances against Mount Aloysius in that game, and we tied it up middle of the second half. Had numerous chances, and they did as well in overtime. It was a fairly open game, and only one PK was not converted in the penalty kick shootout for both
Oh
teams.
my gosh.
So it was 5-4 in the PK shootout. And they represented, Mount Aloysius represented our league well in the NCAA tournament. They did well against
Yeah.
Ohio Northern.
Sometimes if you're going to miss penalties, you almost want everybody to just sort of have a lousy day, rather than just that one. But and then you go into the ECAC, you get to the finals and lose to Rutgers Newark. What was that game? I know Rutgers Newark because they're relatively close, and Simple player number 3 was looking at going there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Outstanding team, very technical,
Yeah.
and really dynamic. One of the best teams we played last year. Is that an Alvernia hat you have on?
This one? No, this is Western Connecticut.
Oh, is it okay? We played Rutgers Newark at Alvernia. And that's
Oh,
what-
you did? Yeah. That's for where the ECAC finals were.
Good team. Good team. Great league.
Yeah.
They're just ready to play. Their league just prepares them to play in the postseason.
Yeah. I always say they have a very Jersey workman-like type attitude or way they play the game. But all right, so I do have to ask you. You had 5 ties. The 4 during the regular season. So Franciscan, College of Worcester, my alma mater, Mount Union, and Mount Aloysius. And then again, like I mentioned, you played Mount Aloysius, went to PKs. So you did overtimes there. I got to ask, what are your thoughts on the no overtimes? Were you okay with not going to overtime and just sort of ending it after 90, or are you one of those who prefers just to go to OT and settle it?
It's a good question. I don't know. I think I'm a fence sitter on it. I like a result, not a tie. So I like the overtime for that reason. But it's a lot of soccer. You're playing twice a week. The body's not set up for that, correct? And so I like a result, and I think overtimes bear that out. I haven't looked at the data, Paul. I don't know what the bean counters would say, but I like overtime. I'm an American, so I like overtime.
Yeah. It's just emotion, right? It's the emotion of it. Like how great, if you've ever played Golden Goal or you win after overtime, and it's like a fantastic feeling. It could, you remember it, whether you're celebrating or whether you drop on the field because you just lost, right? Like you just put there's so much at stake, it seems, in those games. But I'm like you, though. Like, give me the day. Today, maybe I'm like, yeah, we should do overtime. Tomorrow, I'll be like, there's no way overtime is a healthy thing. And I go back and forth. I can never make up my mind. So.
I'm the same exact way, and a couple more years will bear out my opinion on that, I think. We'll see.
What I will say is I think the intention is good, right? Player load. But I just think that's like, figuring it out, doing something along the edges. Like if they really are concerned about player load, the only thing that could be done is you either reduce the number of games or you stretch out the season to accommodate and give some more space between games. That's when you're really talking about, well, if player load is that big of a deal. But I don't think overtime for everybody was that much of a killer. I think having 7 days or 8 days and then having to jump into your games, that's a killer.
I think that's the single biggest improvement college soccer can make. Whether it might not be realistic to go fall spring at the Division III level, but give us 10 more days in August. Bring us in early August,
Yeah.
and let us prepare our teams
Yeah.
at 55 miles an hour versus 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly. I remember my days like you felt like you just walked through a season. You had a season in your legs after preseason. It was just you could be in the greatest of shape, but you would still just because you're not accustomed to the beating it takes for going 8 days, and you're constantly trying to learn something new, or you're playing twice a day. It's a lot.
And I think when I was a younger coach, Paul, I think at least me, I had a tendency to make that window counterproductive. You
Yeah,
try to get too much
too
accomplished,
much done. Yeah,
and again, I think if the NCAA can make one change to Division III college soccer would be to there'd be a number of them, but one I would say is let us come in August 5th, August
yeah, yeah,
3rd, whatever it is,
yeah,
2 weeks, 10 days earlier.
yeah, yeah. I'd said a week on both ends. So a week earlier. So instead of I'm making it up. This instead of the 15th, you come in the 7th or the 8th, whatever that day is, and then you get a week later, and then all you're doing is you stretch out the season. So you can start a little bit earlier, you can end a little bit later, and so you're not killing yourself with 2 games a week, travel, all that kind of stuff. Um, so, but that's the easy button for me, right? Like I don't have to worry about budgets, or I just can have an opinion and not test it with
Academics.
reality. Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, all these decisions are based on two things, right?
yeah,
Financial support and
yeah,
academics.
yeah, yeah. Well, I thought the 2 weeks, right at the end of the season, it doesn't really matter because all the players are already housed and they're already being fed. So there might be some travel adjustment, but not that's. I think the big issue is the week in the preseason, right? Because that's an additional week of playing and lodging players, right? And I don't know if you play, or I don't know how that would work, but I got to believe that's what prevents them from doing it, something or doing something like that. All right, I got to ask you what was your plan for the spring? Did you have a purpose to what you wanted to get accomplished in the spring to set you up for the fall? Is it more about just getting together?
Good question. We took our trip to Croatia right after finals, so we were able to practice a little bit more than we normally would. We spent the spring trying to make a system change,
Mm-hmm.
which had its challenges. We'll see if there is if it's permanent, if we can make it work in the fall. But we tried to play a little bit differently here in the spring. So that was the focus of this spring.
That is system change. Ooh, drama. They're not. No one's gonna know what's. See that sets you up for like no one's gonna know how to prepare for you in the fall.
Af- until we play 3 games, and then there's film and there's conversations on the
Yeah,
phone, and
yeah, yeah.
that's how that works. So
The,
there's
the
there's
film
very few
is leaked
secrets.
of your scrimmage.
Yeah.
A couple more questions for you. I'll let you get on with your day. But what does your I think this is interesting, right? You said you're only graduating two, so
hmm
everyone is effectively back. What does your recruiting class look like? Yeah, is it done? Are you done? Are you still waiting for folks or?
We were smaller this year. We have 7. We have 5 COVID seniors next year. So we have 5. 2 are coming back for grad school.
Mm-hmm.
3 are coming back to complete their degrees. So we have 5 seniors. So we're on the smaller end with our freshmen. We have 7. We're excited about all 7.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some local players, which we haven't had for a couple of years. When I say local, I mean Erie.
Yeah, yeah,
Erie guys. So we're fired up. We're ready to go. And we're, 40 days away, something like that, Paul. So
mm-hmm.
um, we'll have, we do have a good returning group.
Yeah,
Best, as good as we've had in recent years.
yeah. I'm going to ask you. This is like the dumb question of the day. So I actually have another question I just thought of, but which is this: like, how big of a deal is it to find a local kid to play for you? And I'll just ask why.
We want good soccer players, right? And we want good human beings. So if they happen to be local and they're interested, we like that. I like having local players. And that's just a simple answer.
Yeah.
I mean, we want them to be good players and good people and do well and want to come to Behrend, want to come to
Yeah.
Penn State Behrend. So
Yeah.
if that happens to be local, it's great. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is very good local talent here in Erie, and it's improving as well.
Yeah. Oh, that whole. I mean, you're kind of central to like a lot of great soccer. Like no one gives enough attention to that west. Not gives enough attention, but nobody talks a lot about that Western PA, Eastern Ohio, Southwest New York area, and the soccer that comes out of there. So.
And there's, as you know, Paul, there are a lot of Division III schools out here. And we
Throw a stone and you'll hit one.
OAC, NCAC,
Yeah.
PAC.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, there's not a want for schools in that whole stretch, right? All right, so last one, and I'll just remind you this is recorded, so I don't want you to whatever you say become like fodder for your competition. Look what the coach said. We're going to beat them silly in the fall. Do you have any goals for the fall? I mean, you mentioned winning your conference. That's sort of like the standard, but do you have any other goals you could share?
We have goals for our players. We have goals for our program. We have GPA goal. We have regular season. I think hosting the conference tournament is really valuable. Didn't bear out this year, but we want to host. We want to advance to the NCAA tournament, and then even advance within the NCAA tournament. We want our players to. We do a significant amount of community service here. We run a special needs soccer program for 6 weeks here in the spring. That's an important part. We continue to evaluate that and improve that. That's certainly an important goal for our players to take part in that. The overall theme of everything we do is we want our players to enjoy their experience here, leave with good friends, contribute to the community that they're in, whether it's the Erie community or the Behrend community. And I think, and I say this at the end of it, I think winning is an important part of that. I don't hide behind that. We want to do well, but most importantly, we want to represent Behrend well.
Very good, Coach. This was fantastic. Really do appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time. I'd love to get out there with my brother to check out a game, or a little bit further than, but I'll see if I can swing things as I go out your way for work.
You just try to make over the next couple of years a Behrend Mount Union game.
Yeah.
You're a Mount Union guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That, yeah.
Wait, you don't play him this year though, do you?
We don't. Dave and I are friends. Dave was on
He's the assistant.
Dave coached here.
Yeah.
We coached together here.
Yeah.
We'll play each other again.
Yeah. I'm actually speaking to him, rolling out the red carpet for Mount Union. I think at the end of this month. So we're scheduled. He's been busy, I guess. So
high energy guy.
Yeah.
High energy guy, Coach Perritano.
Right.
Our players still talk about him here. We missed him.
Yeah, it's all the coffee. All right, Coach. Thanks a lot. Really do appreciate. All the best to you, your men, and we'll keep in touch, and I'll have you on again at some point.
And thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. And tell your brother we're looking forward to seeing him for a few more alumni games here in April.
Oh, he'll totally be. He still plays. He's still got game. I mean, he thinks he has game. I sometimes wonder, but he'll still step on the field. All right, Coach.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'll stay on here. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. One of those tools and a great starting point is to check out Discover College Soccer study table. Now, I've interviewed Matt Baer, who's the founder of Discover College Soccer, before. Really great guy. And you've probably seen his podcast. I've referred to it and recommend anybody to go to check out his interviews with coaches at all levels. That is specifically designed to talk about the recruiting process and the different college programs. He's not talking about them himself. He's letting the coaches speak. So with all of that information that he's gathered, he's put together this study table that is a program to help you with your recruiting process that's complete with video course on the recruiting process from start to finish. He has these that are updated spreadsheets that are updated monthly, with contact information and details about every program in the country. That alone is worth its weight in salt. He has a bunch of other resources, email templates, checklists to help you guide you through your own process. Now, the best part is, whereas you can pay thousands of dollars to some of these recruiting services, you can get a lifetime subscription to the study table for less than one night in a tournament hotel. The best part of it is that Matt has his own soccer experience. He's a former college player and college coach. He's talked to over 150 coaches in just the last year, and he has some great insights and has created something that I think is probably very, very useful to a lot of you, and best of all, you get to save time and save money. Now look, I don't recommend people that I don't know or I haven't come to know. I've talked to Matt, as I mentioned, on a number of occasions, and he's probably has the most insightful and, I'll just say, thorough understandings of the recruiting process. Not because he's made it up, but because he's asked coaches across the college game. And he's taken all of that, figured out what the best recommendations from all of those discussions that he has, and put that together into the study table. So if you don't want to spend thousands on recruiting, on a recruiting service, and you have the mind to do it yourself, the Discover College Soccer Study Table is for you. So in the description, you can find a link that will get you 20% off on a lifetime subscription. Or if you go to discovercollegesoccer.com, click on the study table to register and use the discount code SIMPLE, you get to save 20% on your subscription. So with that, good luck.